Yes, people. What's going on? Welcome back to United View. Welcome to another morning view, man. Make sure you guys are locked in. Make sure you're ready for another day. It's the end of the week. It's Friday, on our way into match day. And listen, tomorrow.
Well, I was enjoying the end of the week, kind of part of it, and then you went, "We got a match tomorrow."
Yeah, because another opportunity, Owen, to bounce back, to win a game.
Yeah,
put last week behind us.
It's in that position when, if you're the early kickoff on a Saturday, that's a make or break weekend kind of spot, that is, isn't it? Because you win,
so many reasons.
You win. Oh, that Saturday is brilliant. And if there's a good match on the Sunday, that's excellent too.
Whole weekend's brilliant if you win on Saturday.
This is fantastic. And then if you lose, then you're like, I don't want to watch football anymore. I don't want to do this. And they just go, no. And people go 3 o'clock. You go, I don't care. I don't care. They go, Super Sunday, not for me. Not for me. No, thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
So and look, it's in the recent vein of fixtures that we've had, where, I mean, this is getting very previewy, which is coming out today around 1 o'clock.
Yes.
But it's in that vein of we're playing teams around us. The only problem is, Flex, we're not winning against the teams around us. You know, Spurs, Palace. Now Everton.
These are the ones we were like, yeah, well, those are the ones we'll probably win.
We've done it all season. This should be 9 points. 3 wins out of 3 should be 9 points. 0. So
I can't see it as well tomorrow. It is a bit previewish. We have got the preview coming up later, so stay locked in for that across the rest of today, because it is the lead up to that, and that game is, just a little over 24 hours away. So because we are the early kickoff, so yes. But let's go back to the positivity. Hope you've had a good week. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's energized. Hope everyone's ready for a good weekend away from football, whatever you're doing.
I can give you energy. I can give you energy this morning. I was tuning in to KG's Reckless Sport yesterday.
Yep.
I was doing some bits. I know, this is where I'm going with it.
Right.
I saw something in the title and it said Joe Blackman's UV debut is what it said. And I thought, well, that's interesting because that didn't happen. So I thought, I wonder what's going on here. As I learned more facts about the situation, all I would say is there was a court case on KG's channel yesterday, and I think Joe Blackman is guilty. He was guilty. All I could hear was excuses. Where's the judge? All I could hear yesterday was
excuses
from Joe Blackman yesterday, going, Flex didn't call me, or didn't get in touch. You didn't get in touch with him. And he goes, well, I don't have Flex's number. He's got KG's number.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, it's the Flex and KG show. Whilst there was an image of the Flex and KG show on the screen at the time, going, well, I didn't call him. He tried and called, I think it's Rich from Eagle Eye Football to get your number. And it was just excuses. And
I had no idea. I think what happened for me is I didn't understand what was going on the other side of what this actually meant of Joe Blackman coming on.
It was a big thing for them.
But I also just didn't realize the mechanics of, like, Joe, you have to seize this moment. It's on you. I was just looking at it from me, like, taking accountability. I said in the chat, I saw it and I went, oh yeah, Joe, yeah. Do you know what? I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna sort it out. And the day just took me, as it, me, and like KG says, I know like this is what it is. But I don't like to just go, oh, yeah, I'm busy. Look at me. I don't have time for people. I wasn't really trying to do that. So I was trying to take accountability. You know what I mean? Just like, I didn't reach out to him. But then when I was presented with the whole case and when they broke it down to me, I hear it. I hear it.
Hey, Flex, when I started here, did you call me? I called you. I said, hey,
that is very true.
Hey, you need any help? Yeah, I'll be around. That's fine. No problem, mate. No problem.
That's so. Do you know how what? It works. Thinking back to that, that's true, because it was like after a couple of weeks, innit? After I started channel, you just popped up just messaged me, didn't you?
How it works.
Did you message me? Did you have my number? I think you had my number.
No, I messaged you. I didn't. Flex, I didn't even have your number.
You didn't have the number.
I didn't even have Flex's number. Yeah.
Did you DM me on like Insta or something?
I'll probably be on Twitter.
We should go back and have a look at what that looked like.
Yeah.
Hey, just. Do you know what? I might do that now.
Yeah, I might do that, man.
I mean, this is your life with Fleck and Owen.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't really.
What was that? Because you don't really take these things in of like the beginning of something, of how something actually happened. Owen. Scroll.
I found it.
Oh, wow. 20th of June,
2021.
Wow. That's
quite a nice message, actually.
That's a really nice message.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, my message back is not bad as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And yeah, you've rounded it off with a nice little message there, and then that was it. You just,
that was it.
oh, look at that.
Easy. There you go.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah,
Um, Old Trafford says, Old Trafford TV, before we get into what we're even talking about today, Old
yeah.
Trafford says, I was fuming when I saw Flex on ESPN. I was really fuming for real. But when I listened to his analysis, I was impressed. Like a proud dad, LOL. Take your flowers. I did do a piece with ESPN. I recorded it last week. They said they were going to put it out, and they clearly they have. Did it with Mark Ogden and Rob Dawson. Listen, I know everyone's saying, "Oh, Mark Ogden." Listen, that's just well, for me. If a big platform encourages you to come on and give your opinion, I think it's important that we do. Even if we go, "Oh, they don't like this," or "You don't like that," or "Don't like that," it's a chance for us to, like what Old Trafford TV is saying there, is go and give the opinion from the fans, which is why they reached out to me. I know Rob quite well and Mark, and they messaged me, got my number, reached out, got my number. We spoke. Reached out by email. I responded. Then we exchanged numbers, etc., etc. Then went from there. But they said we want to hear what the fans actually think. Like, how do you feel? So yeah, it was a good piece. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. What are we going to be in light of that? That's a good segue actually, because that piece was a year of INEOS, and we own version of that today. One day out, but you get the gist. A year of INEOS, United better or worse, more Jim stories, and of course today more cuts as well. The club have announced Jackie Kay has left her role as head of first team operations, which she's held for nearly 30 years. 30 years.
30 years. I knew you were going to
say. Yeah. So yes, how are we getting into this first? Oh, we need 100.
Well,
likes,
there have been.
Nikhil says just quickly.
That's true.
Let's get like in, guys. We're at 96.
Yeah.
We're at nearly 500 people watching, which is great, by the way. And counting. But let's hit the likes. We've got 97 right now. Let's get to 200. Let's do that ASAP.
Yes, indeed.
What we saying
well, there have been stories, haven't there? But obviously, yesterday, like I said, being a year of INEOS, there are a lot of stories coming out. I think James Ducker wrote quite an extensive piece from the Telegraph, once again highlighting, the cuts and things like that are being made. Maybe the dip in morale that's certainly amongst staff at Manchester United at the moment. Some examples of this: James Ducker said the group property services team at Manchester United have recently seen their tasks extended to having to individually count cartons of screws at their disposal to ensure they are not over ordering. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has implemented a zero-based budgeting policy in which every single item of expenditure is scrutinized in an attempt to drive down costs. It continues by saying morale amongst Manchester United staff is widely described as being on the floor. Angrily, disillusioned and fearful rank-and-file employees feel it has reached the point where they are paying the price of long-term failures under the Glazers, but also a series of botched decisions at executive level by INEOS. And it's that bit at the end, isn't it? I think that's that bit at the end where, read it again, it's paying the price of long-term failures by the Glazers, but also a series of botched decisions at executive level by INEOS. And the reason I highlight that is because that's exactly what we've said for the last however many weeks that this discussion has been ongoing, isn't it? Is that, yes, and it's kind of what Kieran Maguire was sort of saying, that the bulk of the blame is still completely on the doorstep of the Glazers. I mean, when you've got 20 years worth of financial mismanagement, taking money out the club, leveraged debt, you're not paying off the debt. All you're doing is paying off interest payments on the debt. So you've paid off so much interest that you could have actually paid off the debt at this point, which again is madness. And a lack of care about success on the pitch, etc., etc., etc. That gets to the point where you are right now, where you have to, court minority investment just to sort of bail you out of the shit, essentially, which is what they did when it came to INEOS. But the problem is that INEOS haven't made things better, and some of the decisions they have made in the last 365 days have made things worse. They've got things wrong. It's not to say that I think people maybe some people did think they were going to come in and be like, well, anything's better than the Glazers. They'll get it right and things will be fine. And there was some exciting things. Oh, look at this. They're putting together this hierarchy and they're bringing in these football executives, football people making football decisions. But maybe where we got maybe a bit too giddy and a bit too optimistic is, okay, football people making football decisions, but who are the people that are putting those football people in? Because they're still the ones actually making the decisions at Manchester United, which is still the Glazer family, and now Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir Dave Brailsford, and they've got things wrong, and it's hurt Manchester United. You know, obviously the stuff with Eric Ten Hag, they got that wrong. The transfer window over the summer, they spent a lot of money. So far, they got it wrong. The Dan Ashworth thing, they got it wrong, and whilst with the Dan Ashworth thing, I do think that, look, if he wasn't the right fit and it wasn't working out, then okay, you had to, maybe you did have to let him go, but it's still a costly mistake. And it feels like there's just costly mistakes when we can't afford them anyway.
All within the first year while they're trying to tell us that they're trying to make us sustainable. I think and this is why it's good to talk about this, because 1 year of INEOS allows us to sit back and go, right, let's look at every side of this, the scrutiny, the things that they've done. You know, we're looking at transfers where we say, well, you look at that Dorgu transfer, you look at the transfer window just gone of like Mazraoui and De Ligt combined for that price, waiting for Ugarte to bring it down. There's some other stuff there that are some caveats. Going after Kienda now, you start, you know, the turn of the youth. Jason Wilcox's speciality is running the City Academy for a prolonged period of time. When I had Joleon Lescott on talking about Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox, check that video out. You know, it's not me just making these things up. We've gone to seek the right people to speak about these types of things. And when I had Joleon on, he was speaking about how he worked alongside Omar Barada as well in the City Academy, and that was what they headed up. They had, you know, people like Pedro Porro was there. Jadon Sancho, I can't remember off the top of my head. Loads of other players too. Douglas Luiz probably, I think, would have been there. I think a lot of Lavia, etc., right? So, what my point is that this year, this today, I think is important to talk about. Rodgers briefly. There you go. Morgan Rodgers was there. So Cole Palmer, exactly. So they're all coming through now. So a lot of players, right? So we could talk about it more roundly. And this, I wanted to pick out something that good friend of mine, Scott Saunders, football writer and content creator as well.
I saw this.
Yes, yeah. and it was really, and I think it was actually an interesting read. And just bear with me on this. I'll read it out word for word because I think this is just like, basically this is Owen's presented one side, which is like, you know what I mean? We agree. They've made costly errors during this year. This is what Scott said. And me and Owen have been talking about this as well and got shot down. If INEOS hadn't stepped in, United was not going to the Qatar bid. People forget this. Full sale was not an option unless they put up £10 billion. That bid was 40% short of the asking price. If INEOS weren't here, the Glazers would have most likely sold a chunk of the club to a US private equity firm. You don't want to imagine how much worse that would be. Likely the old ways that got United into this mess continue with more financial backing to extend it by a period of years. INEOS have made mistakes, but are working with the intention to rectify United's long-standing problems. For me, that's very important. It's a long way off and painful decisions are being made, but it's all done in the interest of making the club profitable. It's like people just imagine that if Sir Jim Ratcliffe hadn't bought his shares, the Qatar bid would have automatically won and everything would be fine. It wouldn't have. The more likely alternative would have been no intention to fix United at all. Oh, you've got it there, Owen. Well done. And you know what? Listen, and I think this is the bit where if we try to talk about this part of it, just this specific part of it, right? So I was leaning to the side there so you get in. When we talk about this specific part of it, we get defensive, we shut it down, and then we go to the now. But all the jobs, but all of the stuff that you just said, which is correct, of they've been complicit in the mess. So what Scott is basically saying is that they've made mistakes, they are making mistakes, and this year basically has not filled us with any optimism whatsoever. No confidence, right? But the things they're doing, at least he's saying, they're doing it with the view to make us more sustainable, to make us better, to fix the crap. if INEOS didn't come in, I'm not saying be thankful for INEOS, right? But what he's basically saying is this would have just gone to a bunch of American minority investors who definitely don't give a shit about United, who wouldn't have taken the reins of the sporting section, who Richard Arnold and Murto probably would still been here, and they just would have left it to run the way it is without sort of trying to actually make tangible change for greater impact down the line. So I think both of these statements are true.
Are true, and that's and this is the problem. Whenever you try and have these kind of discussions, is there is a lot of people, I think, that just basically just don't want to live in reality. A lot of the time, that it's easier for us to compute, or it's easier for us to digest of, well, you know, Qatar should have come in, bought it all, wiped the debt out, this, that, and the other. That's happened, and then at the same time, again, how feasible and how realistic was that really? You know, I've seen big accounts over the last 7 days to go, Qatar's still interested. You know, what are we doing here? What are we taking the fucking piss? You know, it's a joke, you know, and it's not to say that the Qatar interest wasn't real. Of course it was. We know that it was. But at the same time, I think that it became very obvious very quickly to the Glazers that actually they can get a lot of money and they don't have to let go Manchester United unless they got an offer that was going to completely blow them out of the water. And that's why Scott says, 10 billion, because I know people go, well, the amount that INEOS paid, if you times that and quadruple that to a full amount, it doesn't add up to that. Well, no, because they didn't want to. They didn't want to. And they realized very quickly they didn't have to, because, again, just because the only two names we really heard were INEOS and Sheikh Jassim, that doesn't mean it was the only two people interested. The reality is, with these kind of multi-billion-pound transactions, there is confidentiality, and a lot of these equity banks or investment firms or whatever get involved under the proviso of it's confidential. We don't want our name out there. It's not going to happen. So if it wasn't INEOS, it would have been someone else. They would have accepted a minority investment. They would have got £1 billion from someone else, because all of these, you see it across, obviously, the Premier League, you see it across football and across sport. A lot of these hedge funds or whatever, they all want to get into sport. They're all wanting to get into sport. They all want to, particularly Manchester United in the Premier League, go, oh, yeah, we'll buy 20%. We'll do this. We'll do that. So this idea that INEOS effectively blocked, Qatar from buying Man United.
Exactly.
It's just not accurate. And I think that I think at this point, it's just something to say, I think, to paint them as something they're not. And this is why I always go back to, if you want to criticize INEOS, to do it about the stuff I said earlier on. Do it about their mistakes. They're right there. They're easy to criticize. They're obvious. They've made a lot of mistakes, and and is it getting worse? It feels like it's getting worse, isn't it? So criticize them for that. I don't understand the need to criticize them for something that isn't true. There's plenty of stuff that is true that's much easier and much better to talk about, I think.
And I think Manish has a good point here. It says, fair enough about who was going to get us instead, but good intentions only covers up incompetence for so long. So now that's pushing the argument on a little bit, which is another criticism that you may have made after a year of INEOS to basically come to the conclusion that you don't actually think their intentions might be in the right place, but are you good enough to actually execute this? I've looked at your sporting records already. At Nice, it's not great. The cycling weren't great. The America's Cups, the sailing ain't great. And this is where Kieran Maguire made a fantastic point. INEOS' speciality and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's speciality is in product. Yeah. And he said it, chemicals. And he said a really good analogy, and I'm probably going to botch it, but basically he was saying to make something, you need the labor, you need the not the ingredients, but the
materials,
the materials. And then there was something else, the cost of the demand.
Yeah.
You need those three things. And if you can drive down the cost, the product, the materials don't care who makes them. The materials don't care about the distributor, all those types of things. So you can focus on just that and maximize the profit from minimal, input from the materials you use to make said product, get it out fast, petrochemicals, Now in sport, especially at a club like Man United, a people's club. So Jim now has to deal with people. INEOS have to deal with people, and their decisions now is basically hampered and brought down the environment of people. And we'll read some more quotes about, people, I think Charlotte Duncan was saying from the Telegraph or something like that, what the working environment's like. People are on edge. Everyone's down. No one feels good. They're on edge, etc., etc. So so that bit, what Manish was saying about the incompetence, the intention can only last for so long before, you look at the incompetence, can't mask it. And that's, I think, is a fair, if you have now basically looked at it, because I'm not filled with confidence. I'm not sure that they've got it. Like, okay, I agree with the intention to, like, they're doing this so we can beef. I get that, but I'm not sure that their competence.
And again, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that criticize them for that, because that is built in the facts, that's built in the truth, and that is evidence that we've, you can see from a year at United, or you look at Nice, or you look at, for instance, the talks about them possibly their stake getting bought out in F1 in the Mercedes team. There's also the talk this week, isn't there, about them trying to get out the Spurs sponsorship early, because of course, but again, even that was a weird one after last week. Like, obviously the Spurs match, because we lost that match, everyone started focusing on, it says INEOS on the seats at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then you go, well, it said that for a long time prior to them actually having bought into Manchester United, and there's a contract there, and they're actively trying to see if they can end it early, because it doesn't look great, but it's one of those things that if we won at the weekend, would we really be doing that? These are sort of superficial things that really don't matter all that much. But all right, maybe they're trying to get out of a lot of the other sporting commitments just to focus solely on Manchester United. That's all that they want to do. Okay, cool. Like you said, then you get into the point of, even if you had your sole focus on Manchester United, do you think you can actually unpick that? And okay, yes, you're trying to get, trying to turn it into a more of a cash positive business. And because of that, it's like the article, which I think was widely now seen as quite a lot of spin from INEOS the other day, of, stopping it go and bust. And in 2 years' time, Flex, this is when we're really going to feel the benefit of this. 2 years' time, we're going to be able to spend. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I think, like you said, there is this kind of, well, much more than a side-eye now with a lot of United fans going, even if these things you're doing do turn us into a healthier financial position, do you still have the ability to turn this into like a winning club, even with all the resources, even with everything being sorted? Do you have that about you? Do you have the
experience? Do you have the track record? And someone said before, why should we believe in INEOS when they failed at Nice and the saying, etc., etc. Bruno says, morning, Fleck and Owen. Hope you both have a great day. Some positivity before we start talking about the shambolic club we support. We missed that bit. Sorry, Bruno. Big up to you, Bruno. Been a member for 20 months as well, so the negativity's already started. But I do feel this is important. Maka says Ruben Amorim has to affect games more. Doesn't do enough. And again, that's the other side. Obviously we're talking about INEOS today, but there's been a lot about Ruben. Glenn says, don't think it was just the Glazers' price. Even Qatar didn't want to pay the $33 for Class A shares with no voting rights, traded for much less. And that's what I mean. The Glazers' demands of what it was, so Jim said, is Sheikh Jassim even real? And all of that, was it all fake? And was that even a real thing? Even if you don't believe any of that, and we're on the train of like, that Qatar thing's a real thing. It's there, the interest there. They could buy it, and we know money's not an issue. There also was, depending on who you spoke to, there was also this thing of like, they're not going to get bullied though. They're not going to pay what it's not worth. Like, the Glazers' demands for the full takeover were stupid. You say stupid. If someone owns something, they're entitled to sell it for what is how they value it. You could say why was Jack Grealish 100 million at the time? Why was Declan Rice 105 million? Sure, that's just what those clubs say that they're worth, so you have to pay it. Just simple as that. But I think this is true, that the Glazers' demand for a full buyout, there weren't people queuing up to meet it because they're going, they're having you're not taking a piss. And all of the money you've actually made all of that time, and they still want to sell it for not even a record fee would be the 5-6 billion, kind of thing. They 10 plus.
And this is, to be fair to Qatar, this was also their point of, all right, so you buy it for, 8, 9, 10 billion quid, and then you have to invest a lot of money into it afterwards, right? You have to go,
exactly.
Right, okay, we've got to wipe off
clear
the
$1 billion quid debt.
We've got to do new stadium, new training ground, like that adds up too. So there's also other costs associated. It's like buying a house, isn't it? You buy a house, but then also you have to then spend a load of money and redecorate, knocking a wall down, putting a new wall up. There's the cost you sometimes don't necessarily always think about in the actual price of the sale. So yeah, it just again, I think that, like I said, I noticed it again this week, this whole if Qatar were in and they were doing this and we were doing that, you go, come on, guys, like let's get real with that one. But I think you do raise a good point about INEOS's ability to get it right, because it feels like, maybe let us know in the chat. Can you think what's one decision over the last 12 months that you would say, right, I think INEOS got that one right? And I'll say like right first time, because you could make an argument of, okay, getting rid of Erik ten Hag was at that point was
no,
the right decision.
You can't count that. You can't count
but,
that. Yeah,
but they got it wrong
cheating.
first time. You know what I mean?
That's cheating. That doesn't count. It's hard with Omar Barada because we haven't seen that. But Barada and Wilcox coming in, there has been a shift in academy. There's been a shift in the players that we've got. So Sekou Kone, Chido, and Diego Leon, and Heaven. That's something that wasn't happening before. And that to me is a clear shift of going, that needs to change. Where's our supply line of constant players? Why are we not going to the other academies around the country and nicking their best players? You're not always... The story of Kobe and Marcus Rashford you hear from 7, and Jesse Lingard, you hear from 7 years of age, and like Scott McTominay, and they get into the Elanga and they make it to the first team. Actually, even he came from abroad, I think. But do you know what I mean? That's not always going to be there. We need to get like the kids that are on the tip of everyone's tongue, who are still like youth team players, but within the next year, they can be in our first team playing football. And I think actually, with what they've done with, like I said, Sekou Kone, Chido, Aiden Heaven, Diego Leon, that's 4. That's a clear shift. So I would say, but that's just one side of their job. Like that's just one. Yeah. But those decisions, I would say, are good. We're now saying, where's Chido? Get him in. Sekou Kone looks excited. He could be the answer. Shout out Adam from Forever United. He was talking about, Sekou Kone could be the answer to this, that, and the other. So I feel like it's one part of it that hasn't even materialized yet, but it's a shift.
And it almost feels too soon to judge them, because as much as it's a year of INEOS, I just mean like with Barada and Wilcox or whatever, it's a year of INEOS, but they haven't been in post for a year. And the only reason we're saying Dan Ashworth is a failure is because he's gone. So you know what I mean? So with the Omar Barada stuff and Jason Wilcox, we're still just kind of like, well, time will tell. It's going to have to take a little bit longer. I mean, you can make an argument. They got the Jadon Sancho thing right. That needed to get nipped in the bud and done.
Did that happen under Eric? Under them?
INEOS. Yeah, it was this past summer, wasn't it?
Oh,
it was last day of the summer transfer window. So they got that right in terms of just like, okay, move him on, let him go. And at the time, obviously, the amount of money that we're going to get at the end of the season, 25 million, we were like, oh, that's not that much money. Now we're like, thank you very much. We'll take it. So they got that one right, I suppose.
I think it's slim pickings, mate. I think that's about it.
You could.
They didn't really get rid of Rashford as well. Like the Rashford one came from them as well, but also Ruben clearly made his own mind up as well and said, obviously what had gone on before though, and if Marcus was told by the higher powers, listen, we do think it's best for a break. You will be leaving. We're going to look at offers for you, and then it led to, worse attitude. Ruben's been told as well, like he's not staying here as well. So even for you, just be careful how you invest into him, because we're looking to separate. So it doesn't.
How they handled also the Bruno Fernandes situation in the summer, I do look at that as well and go, they got kind of bullied on that one, and it doesn't get talked about a lot, does it? Because he had he had a couple of years left still on his contract.
Yeah, it didn't have to happen now.
And then what happened with that was, there's some rumors, Bruno, go Bayern Munich, go to Barcelona, and it was like, right, they've been summoned in for a meeting at Carrington with all these people in INEOS. We want to keep you in and sign a new long-term contract for a lot of money. That one doesn't get talked about a lot as well, does it? Of, actually that they got bullied in that one, and they got played when it comes to contract negotiation. I mean, that's contract negotiation 101. Get out there that you're going to go, and then get a new contract. So yeah, there's a lot of these kind of individual ones that maybe we don't even think about because we just think sort of bigger. We look at the table, don't we? And just go 15th. It's all gone to shit. But yeah, there are quite a few instances we go. Don't know about that actually.
I agree. Alex says the house will look a mess while redecorating. So saying this is expected, like you're trying to fix things and you're redecorating, so it's going to be a mess. And so Ryan is here. He says most of what they've done has been cheered on here. Fans want all the benefits, none of the pain as usual. You flip flop here endlessly with zero consequences, but want to hold people to account. Do you think it's mad that you want to hold people who are making the decisions at the football club to account? Do you think that's? Are you thick, Ryan? Are you all right in your head? Yes, we want to hold people account who are the ones making the physical decisions. That probably makes sense, bro. Probably makes sense.
It goes back to KG's point he's made before. Obviously, you've made it before. This idea that. So at the top, yeah, everyone, when it was like Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox all coming in, of course, everyone cheered them on because it wasn't Richard Arnold and it wasn't John Murtough, who, again, had also been complicit in putting Manchester United massively in the hole from a PSR point of view. If 12 months on, it's not going great, your opinion might change a little bit on that going, are they good? Are they not good? Imagine any job you go into, Flex. The first day I start work, we're really happy to have you here. We hope it's going to go well. These are your targets for the next year. And we'll circle back in a year's time. But I really hope it works out for you. And you go, this is very positive. A year later, I haven't hit my targets. I'm in the performance review and they go, you haven't hit your targets. We're thinking of letting you go. I'll go, you flip-flopped on me. You bloody flip-flop. You go, well, you haven't done what you're meant to do. You haven't done your targets. How can you call me a flip-flop? You haven't done what you're here to do. Every time anyone ever loses their job, all you got to do is accuse the hiring and firing manager of flip-flop. Bloody flip-flop, mate. I'm getting my HR rep. Why? Flip-flopped. You flip-flopped on me.
Doesn't make any sense. Imran says, wait a minute. You can't change your mind with new info, you sausage. Which is basically what you said. Lil Yo-Yo says, what a nonsense statement. Listen, so Ryan, you're here every day, bro, but you've taken an L on this one. So I don't know if you want to come back and try and get a W, but you've taken it there. This is true though. Virendra says flip flop fleck just rolls off the tongue to be very honest. It does, and that's why it does. And I had that from Abby. I had that from Anton Ferdinand when we was doing our show last year. I had that with loads of people, and mostly my flip flops have been literally me going, absolutely, I am changing my mind because now I've seen this. Yeah. It's not daily. What people do is make out that it's daily. I'm just one of them people that I'm not so stubborn that I'll go, nope, I said this, I ain't changing. Nope. No, not changing, mate. I said that ages ago, and I'm not flip-flopping because people are going to say you did this. No. When I see enough evidence of something else, I'll go, well, that's my opinion's changed. That is all of football. Like, the people in football is so weird, yeah, especially in the content creation world. Like we know when you get those comments say anyone can have a mic or whatever, because it's true, anyone can have a mic. Yeah. And then some comments are brutal. They're like, this is why people shouldn't have access to mics or whatever it is. Anyone can have their opinion.
There needs to be a tax on microphones.
100%. But in our space, you get there's like the far left and the far right. One side is like, they are like, whatever I say, I need it to be the truth. And so I can be the first to have said something and be right all the time. Some people love the sound of their own voice. Some people don't like listening to others' opinions and couldn't care less what other people have to say. And that's one way of this. Depends on your personality, depends on your demeanor, depends on your character, depends on how you are as a person. Then there's the other side where, again, really open-minded, really positive, or really just calm and just like waiting for things to play out before making a decision, etc., etc. And then there's somewhere in the middle. And again, it just depends on your personality. And like I've said so many times from doing this, you guys know me inside out. Like my personality is that I'll say what I think. I'll fairly stick by it. Then when I start seeing things, I go, nah, I think I was wrong on that. Because look, this is now what I think. Or if people are gassing up a certain specific thing, I go, I don't really see that. Then it's, oh, you got Casemiro agenda. Oh, you got Leach's Martinez agenda. Oh, you got, but I'll have those things at me. But that's my opinion. That's how I'm seeing this thing. And then when the time goes on, look at Xerxes this year. I think we've all been guilty of it. We've all gone from bloody hell. This looks like one of the worst.
The Xerxes one's
ever.
It's still all over the place, isn't it? You know,
it's still like, do you know what I mean? Now it's like he's got to start. He's got a good touch. I'll tell you what, he can do this. We've got to just stick with it. Do you know what I mean? It just
the same for every player in every game, isn't it? You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, this goes to show how bad Man United are. Is I think every player, it's like they have an okay game, and we'll be like, yeah, they're good, and then they'll have a bad game. We'll be like, oh, they're awful. They're awful. They're terrible. Get rid, you know. And but then, like you said, also, that's just being a fan, isn't it? We're all fans at the end of the day. Some, like you said, are maybe more rational than others. Some are more concerned about being right as opposed to, you know,
exactly,
you know, then the reality. Which again, if that's your thing, then that's I guess that's fine too. It's just, I think it's just when it gets, you know, when it gets silly, when you go, you're being presented with a lot of facts here, and you just first like, no, I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
Yeah,
go, okay,
like, because you won't, because you will not change. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fans, Fleck, thought Mount was a good signing. I didn't understand it at the start, but very quickly I was like, but you know what? He's a good footballer. You know, he can. I've seen him play at a high level. He's good technically. He can get about the pitch. This can be good. Do you know what I'm saying? And then look at all the injuries. And then even after the first batch of injuries, I was like, I don't know. When you asked me, you said, Fleck,
yeah, but we
how
had that
long
thing.
until
I was like, I remember saying last season, I think he's a flop, right? And there was this weird counter argument to that at the time, which was, well, if he's still at Manchester United, you can't define him as a flop because he hasn't left yet. You can only, once they've left, that their story has been told, that's when you can define whether they're a flop, if they've been a success. I was like, I don't know if that's true. You could say players are a flop whilst they're still here. Like you said yesterday, you made a really good point. When, unfortunately, for United players anyway, this will probably be the same for Mason Mount, which
Absolutely
is
will be.
when they leave, there has to be this like leave cycle where they can't leave straight away. Then it takes like 18 months or 2 years for them to actually leave. It might be a loan. It might then be them not playing for ages. It might be saying 2 years ahead of time, we're not going to renew your contract. You know, it's like, it's everything. It's just, I don't know. It's bizarre to the point that when this summer, like we're talking about people going, no one's even talking about Mason Mount going, like he actually will. I think people would like to see it, but like I'd be stunned. I'd be stunned if it happened.
Unless, again, someone took a gamble of a loan going, look, you haven't played football in 2 years. Because by the time this happens, I know he's going to come back this season, but let's be real. He's been out so long, they're going to hardly play him, give him like 8 minutes here, 10 minutes there, then something else will probably happen, and it'll be the end of the season. So he's not going to get enough rhythm or thing to start playing a decent amount of games by the time the end of the season. It's just not going to happen.
Flex, this is, I'm so glad Bahir said this. He says, I agree with Sir Ryan. You guys flip-flop with your opinions a lot. Don't make your decisions too soon. Wait to form final opinions longer. And I'm glad you said that, Bahir. Do you know why? Because when you do that, what do you get told? Get off the fence. What's more catchy than flip-flop flex? It's fence-sitting flex is what it is, right? So don't even start with that. I remember last season talking about this stuff. Are you Eric in or you Eric out? You Ten Hag in, you Ten Hag. Just tell us. Just tell us. You've got to just tell us. Tell us one way or the other. You're not allowed. This has already been established. The ground rules have been established a long time ago, which is you're not allowed to be on the fence. You're not allowed to be down the middle. You have to be on one side or the other. Now you're saying, actually, maybe take a little bit more time and wait to see how things play out. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? Because we're not allowed. We're not allowed. You're not allowed today in football. Apparently, you're not allowed to go. I'll wait and see for that, or I'll.
But this and that's what I'm saying.
I'm thinking a bit in both minds here. I'm not sure.
But I'm labelled. You get labelled the fence, sitting on the fence all the time, and that's what I mean. Talking in absolutes, right? Basically, will grab you more. If there's somebody saying one thing or the other, but saying it in an absolute term, you gravitate more towards that, whether it's for good or for bad. You know, let's take Rory's Rasmus Højlund, Erling Haaland thing, when he said, he's crap, he's not going to come here and do anything. I'm talking in absolutes. I'm telling you, he's going to be shit.
Disrespectful to the establishment is what it was.
Disrespectful to the antithesis, the sheer antithesis of Premier League football, of Premiership football. It's not that. It's not that. He's playing in a Farmers League. He won't be able to come here and do that. He just simply won't be able to do it. So then, again, wow, you get proved wrong. So it's that. Then, obviously, the other side of that guy said from early, he said that was never going to work. And look, it didn't. So those two extremes, you're always going to be more in the limelight if you're like that. But I think when you're less like that and you're like, so what do you think about this? I don't know, man. He's done all right in a few games, but I think he could do a bit better. We'll wait to see. I think he's good, but I'm not sure if he's that good. I don't know. Like
you said, I think it's personality touch, isn't it? I mean, this was one last season as well, where they would say like, what's your opinion on this? And I genuinely, and I know people say everyone's got an opinion on everything. There are some things that I genuinely don't actually have an opinion on. I'll be like, I don't really care, you know, or they'll be like, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, I don't really, you know what I mean? And if you meet me in real life, you'll see that is true. You'll be like, do you know this? You go, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. And I'd be like, well, think about it now. And you go, give me a bit more time. You know, it would take a while. Or some people, their personality type is you can ask them anything. What do you think about this? And it's, I don't like it, or I do like it, or it's this, it's that. It's just that, again, it goes back to being a fan, isn't it? That's how, you know, like Scaliano says, how long is the right amount of time to make a decision? Well, it depends who you are, I suppose. Depends who you are. And also, you know, if someone has a longer process than others, that's all right. That's okay.
And that's the thing. It's a different criteria for everyone, like you said, with that question that Scaliano says, because should we give Amrim longer or should we have made our minds up by now? It depends on the person. There are some people who will look at this, especially a lot of neutrals, but they just want to stick the boot in Man United. But even a lot of Man United fans, I've spoke to some, they're going, nah, he ain't it. He ain't it. He's been gassed up.
Do you see Culture Cams yesterday? On what
yeah.
I tell you what, Culture Cams, he's leaning. He is leading.
But I saw that from the PC, the thing he did with Fuad from the other day. He has been saying that for a little minute.
Yeah.
But then when I spoke to him outside Spurs after the Carabao Cup game, when we both did a reaction, again, by that point, he was like, listen, these players aren't going to be here, man. He literally said, I'm not going to cuss Bayern, I'm not going to cuss Eriksen, I'm not going to cuss Lindelof and that. These players aren't going to be here. But that's what I'm saying. We've presented with new evidence. And that game was, how many games ago was that? The Carabao Cup one to now.
December, wasn't it? It was December time.
Is it more than 10 games ago?
Probably close.
About that?
Close to that.
Yeah. But our point stands of, with new evidence, Cams has gone, you can't just keep losing and saying time. Like, he's counting them. Hold on, wait a minute. 12, 13, 12, 11.
14.
Right. So, and then you could say, at that point, at the Carabao Cup, you know, we might have only played, how many games had we played by then under Rumen? Maybe less than 10 by that time.
Oh, yeah, played.
So from Ipswich to then, how many was that?
8.
There you go. So in 8 games, and this is why where you go, how long's long enough? 8 games, he's gone, I'm not going to cuss him, man. His players this and got this, that, and the other. Then 14 games later, and it's been losing. So that's because the 14 games is a lot of games. 14 games is a lot of games. So if you haven't seen enough improvement in 14 games, you can start to go, I'm having doubts. But then the pushback would be, there's a bigger context of start your timer from the summer. Can you do that? Can you start your timer? And this is where people get uncomfortable when I'm saying about the free pass, free hit. You can't just lose all the games and just say, just give me more time and get to summer. Amrim's even said that himself. For people to buy into this, I need to win football matches. He's not. So he's not. I understand that lack of belief early on because we're worse. But there are contexts around it about the players. You can't buy anyone, his system, need a pre-season, all of these things. But the ultimate truth is that he still hasn't been able to get an iota of improvement out of anything or anyone.
Well, it's also that part of, we do this a lot with, I think, of every manager when we say, look, come in, and if it's not going great, stick with them, Give them time. It'll be difficult, but we get through it. That's easy to say. I think a lot of people, we've now learnt this. That's easy to say, but actually to experience it is 10 times as worse, isn't it? It's easy to say, look, I don't care if we lose every single week between now and the end of the season, Flex. It's just get into the summer and then we'll do stuff in the transfer window and we'll focus on next season. That's all it's going to be. But when you are losing every single week, it hurts. It hurts. And when you're watching shitty football, you go, I don't like this. And, but it's easy to say that. Just, like I said, season's right off. Okay, cool. Season's right off. Does it make it hurt any less when we lose every single week? No, It still hurts. We still get angry. I still melt down when I'm watching us not be able to pass the ball 5 yards. I've gone into the game knowing we're probably going to lose it. But it still is difficult. It's still, but it's still difficult to handle. And I think it's just like, again, it's easy to say. I don't like that whole thing. Oh, it doesn't matter if we get relegated. So be it. We wouldn't like it if we got relegated.
No we wouldn't have to stomach for that either.
We wouldn't like it, So it is difficult because you're still Manchester United, and you still be like, we got to win some games. But that is kind of what we're doing at the moment, isn't it? We're winning some games. We're not winning, definitely not winning every game. I mean, I feel sorry for that guy, it's called, I tell you what, his name's fantastic, Flex. I only realized this the other day. So, the guy on Instagram that's like, I'm waiting for United to win 5 games and I'll cut my hair.
Yeah.
His name is the United Strand. That's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Well. That is very good. That's very original.
It's very good. And the hair's got long. The hair's got very, very long because he's waiting for United to win 5 matches in a row.
Oh, 5 matches in a row. Well, that obviously all season he's not going to see it. He's not going to see that.
I mean,
he's actually not going to see that.
He's got a lot. The hair is hairing at the moment.
Yeah,
it's big.
Shout out Coach Cams as well. He was on the show yesterday. He was on What Level yesterday. A lot of people in the chat said, he said some silly things about Ancelotti though. They weren't.
What did he say? I missed that. I missed.
He said, I don't know. It depends how you look at football. He was saying that managers who are wedded to their systems and tactics and philosophy and style, it's all hype. Look at someone like Ancelotti. He just cares about winning. He adapts to whatever his squad is, whatever he has there, whatever chips he has, whatever cards he has. He just adapts and he gets the job done. He just wins. He doesn't. If you said what's Ancelotti's style, you couldn't say it's pressing or it's counter attack. It's possession. It's this. It's that. It is winning. He'll play players where they need to play just to get through, and he adapts like mad. But a lot of people are pushing back, sort of saying this is Real Madrid, and Real Madrid fans wanted him out at one time. They're doing bad. Real Madrid got unbelievable players, so they don't need that much coaching and this, that, and the other. I wouldn't say what he's saying is. Look, he's basically saying this is why you link it to Ruben Amorim and other new age football fans that are like they stick to this style only and wedded to that. It's a bit overhyped. I mean, Pep's again. If you look at Pep, he's actually adaptable. He plays centre backs in places they shouldn't be. People stepping into midfield, changes the formation. He's adaptable. Arteta at the start was adaptable. Jurgen Klopp at the start was adaptable. So there's a lot of examples. There's more examples of people just changing a few things and being a bit adaptable than there is of one guy going, he plays that every single game, no matter what, apart from manager.
Do you feel like with that Ancelotti one though as well, like he's been a manager for a really long time, which makes it a bit more harder. It makes it a bit more harder to sort of
say, what did he do at Everton? But then it's like, that's what I'm saying. Shit players, shit team.
He got him mid-table, wasn't he? And what he did was, still they didn't think he was washed. He went to Real Madrid straight after. You know what I mean? So
But then there's this though of saying like that Ancelotti's arguably had one of the best squads at all.
He's had some amazing squads.
So, but it's like that's the same thing that kind of saved Pep. Like he ain't really that good just because he's always got the best players. So that's why he wins everything. That's not entirely true.
Again, football doesn't necessarily always work like that because we've seen it like when Rafa Benitez went to Real Madrid, failed. Zidane comes in, wins Champions Leagues. Like sometimes I think at that level, I'm not sure. Obviously, lots of people focus on tactics, and obviously that is a part of it. But I do think there is something to be said about the man management aspect of it, getting the best out of players, because the players are so good. It's kind of like, I think Mourinho says it quite a lot, doesn't he? When he sort of goes, at that level, look, these are some of the best players in the world. What do you need to tell them? You know, and this isn't
because Ancelotti simplifies things as
but
well.
he's
That's what I'm
basically
saying.
saying
I
if you
adapt.
go
I've
out
got
there
these
and play
players.
to your best, you'll
Go for
win
it.
because
Yeah.
you're the best players in the world. But it's different at Manchester United because a lot of those players aren't the best players in the world. They're not even the best players in the Premier League. They're not even the best players in Manchester. So, you know, they do require a bit more sort of tactical nous to get them out of it. And I get it's that weird thing of how coaches are kind of judged, isn't it? It's like, are you a good coach if you can get the best out of bad players, or are you a good coach if you can get the best out of good players? And it's kind of like, wow, isn't it just about
it's a mixture. That's what I'm saying. The currency of any coach is about winning. I do think there is too much talk all the time about system and this and that and philosophy and ideals and all of this stuff, all of these buzzwords. And it's true, it's about winning. And the best managers are the ones who do just find a way to win no matter what card they get dealt. They find a way to improve no matter what card they get dealt. And that is the bit that Ruben Amorim, to be fair, is answering early on in his career now, as a young up-and-coming manager. You've been dealt an awful card at United. You've got a terrible team, one that does not fit your style. What can you do with it? Can you get a little bit out of it? Can you show anything? And listen, some people will go, of course he can't. Look how crap these players are. They threw on the Eric Ten Hag and it's crap. They're rubbish. Nobody could. Could get Areola tomorrow. Could get Pep tomorrow. You could get Slot tomorrow. They all would be 15th right now with this team. Some people could say that, but other people could say, nah, there's a lot of managers that would get something out of just a little bit of an approach. They just simplify it to the end of the season. They go, all right, let's play 4-4-2. Let's just be a bit more this, a bit more that. But what our manager wants to do and what he's wedded to, like we've seen, is that he ain't changing none of that. He ain't changing none of it.
And sometimes also as well, it's about sometimes just about the right fit as well, isn't it? Right fit at the right time. Ancelotti, they were sort of saying that obviously he's now one of Real Madrid's, or he might be Real Madrid's longest serving manager because he's been there that long, and but it's just he for the last however many years has been the right fit for Real Madrid. He has been, and
they love playing for him. When you hear the players talk about it, they say like how much freedom he gives them. Yeah.
But like he fits that, like Real Madrid, they're the iconic, arguably best team ever. They got that. So who can effectively manage that pressure, that team, is someone that you have to have, like, they've got to be this person you have the ultimate respect for. So you look at Ancelotti, who has more respect. I mean, Ancelotti's up there in the game right now of like, you'd have the most respect for him out of anyone. That's why Zidane
he's arguably the greatest ever manager.
Yeah, that's why Zidane worked there, because you have respect for him because he's like one of the best players ever, particularly at Real Madrid. So they're like icon. You can't talk to him, can't touch him. That's the kind of figurehead you need at that kind of club. That's why Sir Alex works for so long at Manchester United, because icon, no one bigger than him. So he's like, oh, everything he says is golden. And, you kind of think, oh, is that what we need at Manchester United? But we had that with someone like an LVG, and that didn't work because he was too out of it by that point. So I don't know. It's still waiting just for the right fit, the right time for United. Whether that's Ruben Amorim or not, we'll see. But I could still give him the season, give him the summer, and then if we're where we are, December time this year, then there might be conversation to have, but not just yet.
Yeah, not just yet. Jazdeep says Amorim needs to get a little out of what he has before we back him with our last bit of money. If he can't do a 50-piece jigsaw, why buy him a 1,000-piece jigsaw? Again, different ways of looking at it. So Ryan says flip-flopping only is okay. Flip-flopping only is okay. It's the hypocrisy I can't stand. They're incompetent, but we aren't having wanted the same thing. But we aren't having wanted the same thing. Dissociative disorder. I
think he just said his illness at the end of it. Just trying to.
Oh, okay.
Right. just
on that note.
I think just at the end he just went. It just went. It was a very heavy super chat, and then he just went at the end. He went dissociative disorder, and you went. I understand.
Yeah. No worries. Big up to you.
No problem.
Big up to you. Guys, we've got the preview coming up later on today as well. Make sure you check it out. We need 500 likes. Are we even going to get near that? I haven't been pushing through the show. Where are we at? 282. We ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. That's bad.
Oh, you missed Matt's super chat as well, Fleck.
Yeah, I was gonna get that now. That's just come through. Let's get that. Max says Madrid were so boring and poor under Benitez, but they still beat another team 10-2 because the players had a winning mentality and didn't mail it in. So it's about the players. What are the players? Yeah. So the preview coming out later on. Make sure you guys check that out. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, quite early, you'll have a road trip from myself for the game at Goodison. Not looking forward to it. I can see what's going on, but listen, it is what it is. I think we're going to lose 2-0. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I really hope I'm in there going, I just couldn't see that happening. How have we done that? I can't see us winning the game, regardless of anything. You draw maybe, but I just cannot see us winning. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Oh yes, and it's the Europa draw today as well. Either AZ Alkmaar or Real Sociedad. So we'll, well, there's no point covering it. We'll see who we get out of those two.
Yeah.
Sociedad. We didn't go there long ago. Garnacho's first goal. I was there. Lovely stadium. Lovely people. Lovely part of Spain as well. And AZ Alkmaar, I remember going there for a 0-0 draw in the Europa League under Oli, I want to say. And they had to play the game in this different type of stadium as well.
Oh,
and it was so
was that
boring.
Was that because like they had a thing where like the roof collapsed or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to that game. It was it was a terrible game. And no disrespect to where the game got moved to, but it was it's just part of Holland. I don't know. It was just really boring. There wasn't anything to do there. It was raining. Yeah, and it was just if I asked Josh about it, because Josh was like, it was just a big metal bowl. The stadium was, so yeah, interesting. Yeah. We don't want that Sociedad smoke. I mean, yes, I think Sociedad would be a more difficult game. So maybe rather have AZ Alkmaar. We'll see. Right, we are out of here, guys. We will see you later on. Take care. Peace.